So what is on the manifest right now? How many programs are going to be launching on that?
Well, there are a variety of people that are actually out there brokering launch slots for secondary mission slots. People like Jason Andrews with Spaceflight Services, what they're now doing is they're putting together contract arrangements with people like SpaceX or other launch vehicle providers, and then what they do is they go out and they then broker these slot assignments for secondary payload slots. So for a CubeSat, you might be in the order of, say, several $100,000 for a launch slot. For something that would be larger, on the order of maybe 100 to 180 kilograms, that could run into the $2 million to $5 million price range, depending upon the orbit configuration that you're trying to achieve. You could have a low Earth orbit configuration or a geo orbit, and the price would vary depending upon which mission scenario you're ultimately trying to target.
Is there any plans in the future to have the ESCA ring have its own propulsion system in order to get to different missions like that?
Well, actually, the Air Force has just recently released the solicitation, and we're waiting for the final outcome on the award, but it's called the Eagle program, and what that was an attempt to do was to take the ESPA ring that you have right now and then use that as an orbital maneuvering vehicle. So not only will it have the ability to dispense secondary payloads, but it will have the ability to move to different orbit configurations on its own. There are a variety of different scenarios that were envisioned. One is to populate the full outer perimeter with up to 6 small secondary payloads. The other thing is to take some of the slots that are available on the outside and then use those as attachment points for extra propellant tanks. So if you have a mission where you want to go to, say, a geosynchronous orbit, you have the propellant available to accomplish those deeper space missions.
Now, could that possibly lead to the capability of having satellite resurfacing?
Well, that's one of the things that's been envisioned. As you know, there's a variety of different scenarios that are being envisioned by both DARPA and NASA. One of these is the Phoenix program, where you have a lot of apertures, old antenna arrays that are basically parked in supersynchronous orbits, where once the satellite reaches the end of its useful life, they typically get parked out there. And the vision is to be able to go out there and kind of harvest these antenna apertures, take pieces out of them, or put new pieces of auxiliary hardware out there that would allow you to recycle the hardware that's already out there in space. So one of the things you're obviously going to need is you're going to need a mechanism by which you travel to those orbits, then dispense your little satellites that then have the capability to then harvest that resource that's out there.
What are some of the other projects and developments that you guys are working on right now?
Well, there's a variety of different projects that are under consideration right now. One of the things that we've been looking at is green propulsion scenarios or low toxicity alternatives to hydrazine. So those projects are attractive from the point of view that you don't require the escape suits, which are necessary to handle propellants, which is carcinogenic or toxic. So what these would allow you to do is smaller satellite manufacturers or educational institutions that would like to engage in their own satellite development programs. Obviously, it may require a lot of infrastructure to support these types of hazardous refueling operations. So a green propellant alternative makes it much easier for them to go out and do refueling operations that normally might not be easily accomplished for them, either because they don't have the infrastructure or the certification to accomplish that task.
Well, what is the most important thing that people need to know about MOOG right now?
I think the thing that's important from MOOG's perspective is we're trying to grow our product portfolio. Originally, 10 years ago, MOOG was a relatively small player in the aerospace and defense market segment, and over the last 10 or 12 years or so, we've actually had about half of our growth come from internal organic development and revenue generation, and the other half has been through acquisition, of which MOOG CSA in Mountain View would be an example. So in the last 2 years or so, we've actually done 4 acquisitions here in the Valley, not all of which were space-related. Some of them were related to our medical group or our industrial group, but we are continually acquiring new companies to kind of grow the product portfolio.